Let's Create with Alex Blake. I'm your host, Alex Blake. And today I need to apologize, which I know sounds funny just from the start, but guys, I need to apologize for the audio quality in my last podcast. Genuinely, it was rough. I heard it and posted it anyway because I didn't have time to redo it. And I'm sad because it was such a good episode. So if you can bear the audio quality, definitely go back and listen to it because it genuinely was a really good episode. We talked about 10 Bible verses for when you're feeling anxious, but man, the audio quality was rough. I've told you guys before how I got that like great DJI mic, and it's so nice because I can kind of like take it on the go. And it wasn't as good of quality as my Shure mic, and I just know that. And honestly, like, worth it for the like on the go kind of feel. But in my last office, I used to use it and it was okay because I had carpet and I had like a big couch in my office and stuff that just kind of like filled the acoustics a little bit or softened it. And last week was my first time recording a podcast in my new office, which has hardwoods, and it's downstairs in our house with hardwoods everywhere downstairs. And there's just a little bit less that I have in my office right now. So the audio was just, it was what it was. And I wanted to apologize because I just feel like that sucked. But that's okay. I am back to using like my good microphone for today. So hopefully it sounds a lot better in your ears and in your cars. And yeah. But today we are going to jump into a conversation about kind of a funny word, refinement. And like I said, refinement, I feel like is kind of a funny word, but I have been reflecting a lot on my own like business and growth, whether that's like personal growth or like I said, business growth. And honestly, I just feel like that's the season that I'm in right now, a season of refinement. And when I say a season of refinement, honestly, it also just means like a hard season. And I was pretty vulnerable with you guys last week when we talked about anxiety, where that's something that I'm like battling right now. And that's not to say that I've never battled it before or anything like that. And it's, again, I said this last week, but it's not like I'm huddled up in a corner, not able to deal with life or anything. But it's just a hard season and there's a lot going on. But what's super cool is as I'm like reflecting on all of this, I can look back and see proof that the hard seasons in my life do pay off when I'm able to like still continue to stay steady and trust that God is like refining something in me, even when maybe I can't see it yet. And there's time and time again in my life where I can look back and see I was in a valley, I was in a hard season, and God brought me through. And then it's cool because the next valley that I go through is kind of like on top of the other valley. Like it's never swoops quite as low as the last one because I learned and grew and chose to grow even in the hard season. And I think that's what makes things seasons of refinement. So this episode is partly me being like authentic in letting you guys in on that and reminding myself of that truth, which I think is super cool about my podcast. And one of the big reasons that I like to do it is like, yes, I want to like yap. And, I have the 3 pillars of my life and my business, which are creativity and community and coaching. And yes, I want this to be a place of coaching, but it's not just coaching for you. It's coaching for myself too. It's coaching myself up and kind of reminding myself, like I said, of that truth. And then hopefully encouraging you too, whether you're in a hard and refining season right now or the next one that you go through. Maybe you just kind of tuck this information away and like hold on to it for a little bit. So we're going to talk about what refinement means for the purpose of this podcast, and then some signs that maybe you might be in a hard or refining period, but you're not actually just, going through the hard thing. You're not just failing, you are refining, you're growing, and then how to kind of like lean into it with trust and with purpose. So before we actually like jump in, I wanted to tell you guys, like when I was thinking about this, like I said, I obviously am thinking about my current situation, how I might be going through something hard, but also it makes me think back to the last time that I experienced a hard season or a refining season. And for me, my mind instantly goes back back to 2023. And 2023 was my first year in Charleston. And that year was honestly so hard. And there were so many like amazing blessings that came from it. God provided over and over and over again. But at the same time, when I moved from Georgia to Charleston, guys, it felt like I had taken like a huge step backwards in my business. In Georgia, I had this like steady client base and my calendar was full and I had community and I just kind of felt like established, I guess. But then when I moved here, I was basically just in this new place with like no connections, and I had to start over on what like my life and rhythm was in general, start over from community, start over with clients. And it just felt like I was starting from scratch with everything. Like I had built up like a little bit of an Instagram following. I think I was at maybe like 2,500 or 3,000 followers when I moved. So like I was doing the thing, and I was doing the thing that was going to build me, but all of those people were in Georgia for the most part. And so all of a sudden I was like, okay, now who is my audience? Who am I even talking to when I'm posting? And I remember thinking like, how did I go from thriving to rebuilding, even though it felt like this was the right move? Like I knew that Zach and I were called to Charleston. I knew that what we were going to do here was going to be so good. And I trusted that God was going to provide, but it was also like really, really hard work. And I can look back now and see that God was just so refining me, because what came out of that season for like my business was structure and systems and strength in my business. And honestly, even out of that season came like a desire to know fully what I love in photography, not just do whatever, like I did whatever during that season because I needed to, but I learned what it was that I loved. I learned that I loved graduating seniors. I learned that I love the beach and taking pictures by water. Like those are things that I learned in that hard season. And that season was like kind of stripped away. It like stripped away what was, I don't know, I guess like sustainable. And then it rebuilt something in me that could actually grow with me in the next season. And I definitely like realized that in that process too, refinement doesn't just happen in your business when you're a creative. Like as creatives and business owners, our work is so connected to who we are. And it's just a reflection in many ways of who we are. And so when our business is being refined, I think it's also happening in us. Like we are being refined as our businesses are being refined. And I believe that God has used those hard seasons in my life to build so much. I think he uses hard seasons in our business to build patience in us and humility in us and trust and the things that make us not just better business leaders or business owners or whatever, but also better people, better humans, better disciples of him. And there's so much that's like such a cool thing. Like God is the ultimate creator. He's the one who created the world in general. God is a creative. And so he understands like when we are creating something, it's actually an image of God in us, which is so cool. And so of course he's going to use the way that we're creative and the way that he's designed us to continue to refine us and make us better. So for the purpose of this podcast, what does refinement actually mean, right? Well, refinement, I think, isn't just about like fixing something that's broken. It's just about improving something. And so that something could be really bad. It could be broken, but it doesn't always have to be. It could be about improving something that's like maybe already good, but it's the process of like being shaped and stretched and sharpened, right? Like something could already be sharp, but it could always be sharper. And it allows us to just carry more responsibility and do it well later and in the future. So in our creative lives, maybe refinement looks like just redefining things, right? Like redefining maybe what success means to us, or maybe it means learning to let go of old habits or mindsets or old organization to move to a new system. Or maybe it's building the systems that actually support your growth instead of burning you out because in the past it has and you didn't realize that. Or maybe it's just learning to say no to things that don't line up with what you want your business to look like, or learning to create boundaries with clients. Like these are things that don't feel beautiful or like they don't feel fun. They're not glamorous, but most of the time, these are things that are happening behind the scenes. And these are things that are growing growth in us that's going to last. So I feel like for me, at least, when I'm being refined, it can be easy to feel like, man, I'm going through this hard season. What did I do to deserve this? Or, to kind of almost like play victim. But that's not what this season is for. This season is for us to learn how to grow and take it into the next season, because maybe we're actually just being prepared. Like maybe refinement or hard seasons are supposed to grow the muscles in us that we can take to the next season and be prepared for whatever's going to come in the next one. So I want to talk about a couple of signs that maybe you're in a refinement season right now. So maybe some of these sound familiar to you. Maybe you are questioning everything. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe not everything, but maybe you're questioning something. You're questioning what used to work and now it's feeling like maybe it's flopping or it's not doing what it used to. Maybe you're feeling inspired by new creative things. Maybe that is a refinement season in itself where you're feeling like drawn to new directions creatively. A third one, and this is one I'm dealing with right now. Maybe you're quieter on social media right now. Maybe you're not feeling pulled to post what you always have posted. Maybe you're feeling like you want to take a step back for some reason. And maybe you're a little bit confused by that, AKA my life right now. Number 4, maybe you're focused on kind of back end things that no one else sees, like the systems. If you're really focusing on that, it could be refining for your business right now. You're rebuilding systems. Or number 5, and this is the last one, maybe you're craving sustainability over working hard and hustling. And I have kind of a perspective shift on all of these because I think that's what this needs, right? Maybe it's not just a hard season. Maybe you're not failing. Maybe you're refining. So in order to kind of perspective flip that, for that first one, you're questioning what used to work. Maybe that's not confusion. Maybe you questioning what used to work is going to help give you clarity. That's clarity forming right now. Number 2, maybe you're drawn to new creative ventures, right? What if that's not inconsistency in your business? What if that's growing you to the next thing your business is going to own really well? If you're quieter online, again, AKA me right now, maybe that isn't that you're falling behind. Maybe it's reflection of where you want to go. It's kind of similar to that second one, I guess, but like, it really is like reflecting of where you have been, what has worked in the past, but then also like, where do you want to go in the future? Where do you want to lead people in the future, influence people? That's a beautiful thing about social media. You're being yourself, but also naturally, you're a leader. You're a leader to the people that are following you. It's such a beautiful thing. And then number 4, if you're focused on the back end things that no one else is seeing, the systems, that is not wasted time. That's foundation work for the next season. That is the work that people are going to like, when you're building up those systems, people are, as a client, they're going to experience that as the first thing in your business. And that matters. It's foundation work for the next really hard season. You're going to have those there and it's going to be really cool. And then number 5, where I said you're craving sustainability over working really hard or hustling. What if that's not a lack of ambition? What if that's maturity? I was really thinking about that because something I've been thinking a lot about, and I think I want to do a podcast about this, it's living a quiet life. And I think sometimes in our industry, guys, the hustle is really glorified. And maybe it's not like I'm working really hard and that's the thing that's glorified, but maybe it's traveling all the time is glorified. Or going to this really big event and being like the person at that event is glorified. But that isn't sustainable. And that's not everyone's calling. Maybe for some people, that's their purpose. And like, there's so many things that God can do through those things. I'm not saying those things are bad or anything. Y'all know I travel a lot and I love to travel. But what if craving a quiet life, a sustainable life, a life where you're able to pour into the people around you and be poured into, be known and loved by a church community and people who are going to call you up and be like with you in the good and the thick and the thin and the bad and everything? What if that's just maturity? What if that's building a life that doesn't go up and down with the wind or move back and forth with the wind, but that keeps you on a steady path? Maybe that's just like growing up, you know? But yeah, I think like reminding yourself that when things don't look flashy, your business is actually strengthening behind the scenes. I think we can work on our communication, our client experience, and really, again, just like our systems and what we want to show people. And with that, I think it puts in us this capacity to handle growth in a really healthy way. And I think all we see is hard instead of refinement. Like maybe refinement looks kind of invisible until one day the results will show up and we've realized then that we have changed. And we can look back, like I said, in 2023, I don't think that I knew I was like really building. I mean, I knew that like I needed to build because I was building from the ground up and kind of from scratch. But at the same time, like I don't know that I could see that every little decision I was making was refining me until 2024, when I looked back and I was living in the fruit of what I had built. So I realized I was refining, not falling, not just going through a hard season, but refining. So I want to talk about how to lean into refinement, and this will kind of end us out. But here's how I think we should lean into refinement. The first thing is we need to step back and get perspective. And I already kind of touched on that with even just those like 5 things of signs you're in a refinement season, but it's so important. I think we need to ask ourselves like, what's being shaped in me right now? What am I learning that I wouldn't have learned if everything was going smoothly? What is it that I'm able to take into the next season? What is it that I'm building in my business right now? And then the second one is stop comparing your timeline. This is a good one, guys. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but C.S. Lewis says, comparison is the thief of joy. And I truly believe that when we're going through a hard season, the worst thing that we can do for ourselves is compare. Like we do not need to look at anyone else and compare where we are. No, we need to stop comparing. Look at the Bible talks about, I think it's in Proverbs where it says, ponder the path of your feet. And that brings self-awareness, it brings self-reflection, but also it keeps us from looking to the right or to the left and seeing people around us and where they are and how long it took them to get there. No. Refinement takes time. And somewhere where God might need to refine me might not be where he needs to refine you. You might be miles ahead of me on it, right? And there's places in me that I might be a little bit more ahead of you in my refinement, because everyone's different. God's created us differently. Our stories are different. The things we've walked through in life are different. So refinement takes time, and that's okay. And sometimes I would also say like, the slower our refinement process, maybe the stronger and the more sticky the result is. Okay. Number 3, another place that we can lean into refinement is to let yourself play and have fun again. And I know that sounds kind of weird because when we're going through a harder season, that is like not the thing we want to do. But I think something to maybe flip our perspective on, like the first one was, is that refinement doesn't necessarily mean like restriction. Because I think it's okay to experiment and try something new or just create for fun again. I've talked about that, where that is something that I struggle with, where it's like I am creative and I love to create, but I often think ahead and I maybe don't post something or I don't create something or do something because I know that like that's not maybe beneficial for where I want to go. And while I think that that is wise to not do that, sometimes I just need to like chill and have fun, right? So like it's okay to not always be thinking about like how this thing affects this thing and that affects this. And then I'm going to have people reaching out to me for couples shoots if I post this. And I'm like, no, I just need to post it. If it's fun to me, I can post it. Now, I also have to know that I might get couples reaching out to me if I post couples, and that's okay. But if I at least know that ahead of time, but I really loved that shoot and I want to share that shoot, that's okay. I'm going to let myself play and have fun again. Okay, the 4th thing is celebrate the unseen wins. And I love this one because you guys know I love journaling. I love to journal. I journal every morning. It's how I pray. And something that I love about journaling is that I'm able to have a time of reflection. And sometimes it's happening in the moment as I'm journaling, as I'm talking to God. But then there's other times where I just go and look back in my journal and I'm able to see like the victories in my life that maybe I didn't even realize that I was going through, or that I didn't even realize had happened, or these answered prayers that I'm like, oh, dang, I prayed for that 3 months ago. Totally forgot that I prayed for that, but here it is. And now that's something that is in my life. And so I feel like when you experience something really even just small or where no one else sees it, right? Like I said, unseen wins. Like write down on a piece of paper or in a journal, or even just like have it in your phone and your notes app, some of those little victories. And maybe for you, like a victory is like an answered prayer, or maybe and maybe it's big. I don't know. Maybe it's something small. Like I held a boundary today and I'm proud of myself for that. I wasn't anxious in this situation when I used to be. And I'm really proud of myself for that. Or I trusted myself to do this and I'm really proud of myself. I said no to a client because I know that it's not helpful for me to take that client, but it was hard. But you did it, like celebrate the things that nobody else sees. And especially in our business, when we are like, we call each other coworkers, right? Like all of us photographers, all of us in the creative industry. And that's such a cool thing. But ultimately, like, you don't know everything that goes on in my business. And I don't know everything that goes on in yours. I had a client this week who didn't love something that I did in some group shots where I like to take like a full group shot if it's like headshots for a larger group of people. I like to take a full headshot or a full like group shot, and then I'll kind of walk in with my camera and do like a half group shot from the same pose, and then just a couple people in it, and just kind of get some variety. And the client didn't love that. And it surprised me because I've never had anybody say anything. Most of the time they love that, but that wasn't something that she appreciated, and she gave me feedback on it. And that's totally fine. But it was hard for me to receive that in the moment, right? Because I'm like, oh, that's like, hurtful a little bit. Like I want everyone to love my work. But the way that I responded, I was so proud of myself because I waited to respond to it. I looked back at the gallery, totally see what she's saying, and then can respond to it well at the same time as holding my boundaries. And that's an unseen win. Nobody, unless I tell you like I am on this podcast, nobody is going to know that I did that, but I'm proud of myself for doing it well. And I need to celebrate that in myself. And then the last way that we lean into refinement is by trusting the process. Maybe we won't see fruit right now, but it is growing. It's just growing like it's like the roots, right? It's growing like below the ground. But don't dig up the roots out of frustration because you can't see it yet. We have to have patience. We have to like I said before, where Proverbs says, ponder the path of our feet. See every step forward. Take it day by day and just live and just be and trust that there is fruit. And I think there's something that I was thinking about, and I can't even remember exactly the way that I had phrased it in my head because I didn't write it in my notes, but something about like obedience, like what's the next, it was like, what's the next best step that I can take? What's the next best way that I can obey God? And when that happens, it keeps our feet moving forward, right? And when we are obedient in that next best step as much as possible, because none of us are perfect, right? Like we're all going to mess up. We're all going to fall a little bit, okay? We're all going to accidentally go to the left a little bit. But like get our feet right back on that path. Every time that we do mess up, like we turn, we repent, we bring it right back, and we're like, no, this is the path we want to be on. And every time that we do that, we can know that we are pushing forward. We can know that we are being refined, that we are in process. And one verse that always sticks out to me when I think about refinement is John 15:2. It says, he prunes every branch that bears fruit so that it will be even more fruitful. And this verse is so beautiful, and it can change like how we see hard seasons, because pruning doesn't happen to like dead branches. It happens to healthy ones. So we can know that like if God is pruning and refining us, it's because we are growing. He's just helping us to grow better. And so that's the perspective change that I want us to have, right? Perspective changes everything. And it turns us into having like this frustration of like, I'm not there yet, into the peace of God's refining me. I'm not failing. I'm not moving backwards. No, I'm being refined. He's letting me see this like picture or unsettledness of this current season so that I can grow into the next, because we're just being prepared for a next season. So I don't know where you are today, or if you're in a season that feels like slow or heavy or uncertain or hard like me, but I'm here to remind myself that I am not failing. I am refining. So if you need to take that as your own truth today too, do it. Take it, claim it as your own, because the growth might be quiet right now, but it is real. God is strengthening something in us, and he's strengthening something in our business that's going to sustain us for what's coming next. So like I said, maybe take a few minutes this week to write down like what is being strengthened in you, or what is like winning in you, and maybe just like journal. And also, if this episode encouraged you, I would love for you to share it with a friend. Obviously, we've talked about this before. But yeah, also rate and subscribe to the podcast. It helps me and it helps us to continue to grow our community. So anyway, I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys next Thursday. Bye.